Welcome back, guys, and I hope you're doing well. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to go over the 3 things that, in my opinion, hold most dual wielders back from becoming the dual wielder that I know that you can be. All right. So before we get into it, first things first, I do like to do unscripted content. So if it gets a little long-winded, which I think this one probably will, we'll have the chapters down below. So with that being said, the second thing before I get started, guys, this is kind of an extension from my last video, but kind of not. Basically, I knew that I was going to make this video as soon as I decided to start looking up Khazan content just to see what was out there. Just decided to look what was already out there. I knew that I had to make this video. So with that being said, guys, I am not, again, because I don't, the mindset going into this video, I don't want you to think that, because I'm not, one of the Soulsborne elitist guys who, you have to play the game in a certain way or else you're not actually playing it, blah, blah, blah. That's not what this is about. So I don't want it to immediately, I don't want you to immediately block it out and to become defensive, okay? It's not what this is about. The main point of this video is to help people improve, okay? So, on top of that, I will say if you do incorporate these things that I'm about to list into your playstyle, it's fine. All right, genuinely, it makes no difference to me whether, how people play the game. You spent the same amount of money on the game as I did. You can play it however you want. Okay, really, at the end of the day, however you have fun with the game is what matters most. All right, but for those who've clicked on this video with the title that I'm going to put, I'm assuming that you're clicking on this video because you have the desire to improve and be, as good of a player overall as you can be, which that's how I like to play video games too. I like to, I like to know everything about the game and then try to be as most well-rounded as I can. Okay, so with that out of the way, guys, the 3 things, I don't want to waste too much time. The 3 things, I'm just going to say it outright first and then we'll get into it, that I think hold a lot of dual wielders back from becoming the best dual wielder that I know that you all can be is 1, reflection, 2, bloody sword dance, and a Gale Doom, and these come from the Bloodthirsty Fiend set, and 3rd is deafness spamming. So before I get into each one, again, I do want to say, because I mentioned that I kind of did some research from my last video to make it. And the reason why I wanted to make this is because when I was looking at Khazan content that was made when the game first came out, and even some of the videos that, people post, somewhat recently, I looked at some people with no views, some with a bunch of views, everything in between, just because I wanted to see what was out there. And the vast majority of the content that I saw was just reflection and Bloodthirsty Fiend. And what it came down to was just, they would use reflection and then they would spam deafness until they depleted their enemy's stamina bar, or they would just reflect again and then just basically just turn off their enemy, right? It's just like, you're not allowed to attack, I'm just going to do everything, dump my stamina bar, brutal attack, and then I'm going to reflect again, dump my stamina bar, and I'm like, I just wanted to be sure, it's like, if people want to play like that, hey, again, that's fine, but when new players look up content and they want to, discover some new things, if they see that that's what literally everyone is doing, it's like, I just want to make sure that people know, at least people that watch my videos, right? Just to make sure that they know it's like, that's not all the game is about. And you can still efficiently kill bosses and engage in other game mechanics, again, efficiently, and still beat the game and be good at the game, right? Again, people who play like that, I'm not saying they're bad, I'm just saying there's more to the game and you can have more variation in your playstyle while still efficiently killing a boss. So with that being said, let's get into it. So I'll get into the first thing, reflection, guys, and I'll put up some overlays too, just to demonstrate the point. I think that reflection creates a lot of bad habits just because again, the reason I say bad habits is just because, again, you don't really learn a boss or learn how to play around certain mechanics or moves or, dodge, brink guard, which one's better, and if there's scenarios, etc. Just because there's there's no downsides to reflection, really. Someone could just learn one move from a boss, look for it, and then reflect it. And then once you do successfully reflect an opponent's attack, you completely zap their stamina bar, right? Insane, ridiculous stamina damage. And then it leaves them, majority of the time, in a vulnerable stun-locked state, which, then you can just dump your stamina bar to deplete the rest of their stamina bar, brutal attack, and then, again, just do rinse, repeat, right? And again, so if some new players see that and they think that that's really all there is as far as depth to the Khazan combat system, I think that it's kind of doing them a disservice. But regardless, yeah, I think that overusing reflection is just, it can, again, the point of this video, I think it's holding a lot of players back if they just keep using reflection and they don't use all of the other tools in their toolbox to help navigate a fight. I think that it's just preventing them from really, right, like using their brain and thinking about the fight and different ways to go about it. Now, bleeding into that point, Bloodthirsty Fiend. So Bloodthirsty Fiend, we all know it's strong, right? And if you're, someone who uses a different weapon, you may not know. Actually, so Bloodthirsty Fiend, it's a gear set for the dual wield weapon set. Now, by itself, it's actually kind of cool, right? It's not too bad. It's got some cool bonuses. But with the 6-piece bonus and the weapon, it gives Bloody Sword Dance and Gale Doom. Now, this, even by itself, Bloody Sword Dance, and again, I'll have some overlays up here, is insanely strong. The damage is bonkers. It mini stuns your enemy, right? So basically, it slows them down, almost like the effect of water attributes, right? And it keeps them in an exhausted state longer by doing those extended, like, mini stuns. Now, again, if people want to play like this, cool, do your thing. But with Bloody Sword Dance, again, even just normal moves by itself, not even coupling it with reflection, right, can really give a different, or I would say a skewed perspective on damage itself and what a fight can look like, right? Other than that, Gale Doom mixed with Bloody Sword Dance, with the full Bloodthirsty Fiend set, I think that this really trivializes the game in a way that can be detrimental, because, like, just again, it can hold some players back because they think that the boss fight is supposed to be in that way, or they think that it completely, dominates that much that other gear sets should be brought up to that power level, or that they beat the game so easily with that gear set, right, that without it they feel completely useless. So then they go back to it and they never stop using it. And again, it kind of bleeds into the other reason that I gave, which was it basically can turn some players off to not only dual wield but just the game, because they think that the combat system is so simple that you just spam light attack with this augmented variant, right? And then it's like, okay, well, there you go, win. Especially, again, if you couple it with reflection. And then the third thing I will say is deafness spamming. So the third reason, deafness spamming. So this one is a little bit more in depth too. So deafness is an extremely good skill, and it can be stamina hungry, right? Even with Conrad the Swift, which gives you a reduction in stamina cost of dodging. Guys, when people use deafness as an offensive tool only, they will come out with the perspective of, wow, this does nothing but eat my stamina. It's very stamina hungry, it's stamina inefficient, but it does a lot of stamina damage to their enemy. So what I've seen too in a lot of videos is that people will just use reflection or or whatever the case, and then they will just deafness spam into one nimble blitz activation, right? And then deafness, nimble blitz, deafness, and they'll just keep deafness and use their whole stamina bar just to exhaust their enemy. Again, I reiterate, people can play however they want, however they have fun. But I think that it heavily incentivizes players to underutilize the rest of their kit, right? And then again, they come out with that perspective, and then they tell other players like, yeah, don't use deafness early on, or don't use deafness. Yeah, like, or I've even seen some say don't use deafness in your whole first playthrough, and I'm like, what the? Because deafness is an amazing skill, but when you use it, in my opinion, the most efficiently is as not just an attack. It's not just offensive, right? You use it as a dodge, so to dodge and attack at the same time. And if you do use it to dodge and attack at the same time, you get stamina back from your skill tree. If you couple that with the stamina back from any gear set bonuses, right? It's really not that stamina inefficient, right? Because if you brink dodge with deafness, you're getting a lot of stamina back. So that's the third thing. But yeah, guys, in short, because I wanted to keep this one a little shorter, but I wanted to get it out there. Oh, and the last thing I'll say before I conclude is, guys, I am not by any means, I want to be very clear, I'm not advocating for any of these things to be nerfed at all. I want them to stay how they are, because I like having strong gear sets. I like having those things in the game. But I just want people to be aware of them, right? But I do not want them nerfed. I don't want them altered or changed, because they're completely optional, right? I personally don't use any of them because you don't have to, right? But people who want to use them, I think they should be able to, by all means, right? Play the game wherever you want. I want them to be in the game. I don't think they should be nerfed, but I just want, newer players or people new to dual wield just to be aware of it, right? And especially, if they're coming from a different weapon and they use reflection on their other weapon as well, all of the weapons can feel very similar if you are using reflection a lot, right? So in that, guys, yeah, that's all I got to say about it. I know for a fact that everyone can be really, really good with dual wield. You just got to know, you just got to know the tools available to you and how to implement them, right? So yeah, on that, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks again.